So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to Should You Buy an iPhone 10 or the iPhone 8 Plus? First of all, let me just make one thing direct and clear. If you're confused which one to buy, just buy the iPhone 10 because you might have, a little bit of buyer's remorse, as in you buy the iPhone 8 Plus, you thought it might have been better, but then you see people with the iPhone 10. If you're just really confused, get the iPhone 10, you'll be happier. But let's begin with the specifications here right away. So on the iPhone 10, you do have basically the same internal components besides the display on the iPhone 10. You have an A11 Bionic, you have an A11 Bionic here on the iPhone 8 Plus, 3 gigs of RAM on both. Both have basically the same rear camera, 1080p 60. It also has 4K 60. They do 240 FPS at slow-mo, and it's pretty incredible, the cameras on the rear portrait. These are optically stabilized, both of them. Only one of them is optically stabilized on the 8 Plus. Now on the front, you do get those cameras that are, both portrait mode, and you do get a 5.5-inch LCD Retina display here, where you get an AMOLED 5.8-inch Super Retina display here on iPhone 10. Now both do give you front firing speakers, so the audio on both of these should sound just fine. So what about the body and the design? And here is one of the big differences if you decide to pick one of these up. The iPhone 8 Plus is basically a 4-year-old design, and it kind of feels stale if you have used any of the Plus models before. Now, if you've used, iPhone 5S, iPhone SE, or iPhone 6, the smaller one, this might feel like a nice update to you. But if you're coming from anything other than that, like a 6 Plus, a 7 Plus, this is going to feel pretty much same old to you. Whereas the iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone 10 is a very radical difference in size. It's lighter, but it gives you kind of a bigger screen. However, the 8 Plus has landscape mode. You don't get that on the iPhone 10. So this actually feels more like a Plus phone, even though it has a slightly smaller screen. It is a wider display, so it's more roomy when you're viewing content and stuff like that. So the iPhone 10, while technically on paper has a bigger display, it tends to feel like you have a bigger phone when you're using the iPhone 8 Plus. So keep that in mind when it comes to the body, the size, and the weight. The iPhone 8 Plus is definitely going to cramp your hand a little more than iPhone 10. But I think overall, the iPhone 10 is sleeker, it's a better looking phone, and it's the newer design from the Apple iPhone. Now let's talk about the displays and the display quality themselves. So you do get 458 pixels per inch here on the iPhone 10. This is an OLED panel, not a Super AMOLED panel, so it's tuned for accuracy, and it looks darn good. It gets plenty bright, and it's been rated one of the best displays ever on any smartphone, and it pretty much shows, besides sometimes the notch getting in the way. It really depends on how you feel about that, but it is there on the phone. Now, this is one of the best LCDs you could ever buy on any smartphone. It's very well tuned. It's a P3 display, has True Tone functionality, which you also get on the iPhone 10. And I think overall, you're not going to have a problem at all using the iPhone 8 Plus's display in terms of quality. But if you do see it side by side with a 10, you might be regretting your choice on purchasing an iPhone 8 Plus. But I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not trying to sway you away from the 8 Plus. So talking about the software differences, you do have iOS 11 on both. And at its core, it's basically the same software on both. However, it operates very differently on the iPhone 10. You now pull up from the top to get to your control center. You do have gesture controls. We've seen this by now if you've been looking into the iPhone 10. It's just a different way to operate the system, and it's going to have a learning curve for the iPhone 10, but it is a very small learning curve. I think, if you've been using smartphones for a while, it's going to be really easy to get used to this. Now, talking about performance, I will speed test these in a different video, but overall, day-to-day performance, they feel like really about the same. I think the iPhone 10 is slightly quicker looking in day-to-day performance, but at the end of the day, these things are performing pretty equally, and anything you throw at them, they will be able to handle like a champ. Super smooth on either, and the video is really where you're going to notice a huge update on both these phones. It's pretty fantastic. You're going to enjoy either one of these when it comes to performance for many years to come. So don't even, make that a deciding factor between these two. Okay, getting on to camera differences here. I have used both of these cameras out in the field. I am working on a full camera review for the iPhone 10, so you might want to be subscribed to see that. But these phones right here, they have very similar cameras, produce very similar results, and I didn't really notice too much difference other than the iPhone 10 on the screen, because it's an OLED panel. It looked a little bit better with the camera just because because the screen looks better, but when you put it up on a computer display, they looked about the same. I couldn't see too many differences. Video though was a little bit smoother on the iPhone 10 because it has dual optical image stabilization, and the front facing camera, I do like to see portrait on the iPhone 10 on the front because you don't always have someone else with you to take yourself a portrait. So that's cool to see selfie portrait on the iPhone 10 versus this older smartphone on the right. So discussing battery life, here is an easy win for A+. Don't even think about the iPhone 10 if you're looking for the battery champ here. The best battery life phone this year from Apple is the iPhone 8 Plus, and might be the best battery life phone ever on any smartphone from Apple. So if you're looking for a champ in battery, you got to get the 8 Plus. It does a better job with efficiency. I can tell you right now, I've been testing it. The iPhone 10 is getting you through a day, but the iPhone 8 Plus is getting you through a day easily. I'll end the day with about 10%, 12% on the iPhone 10. I'm ending the day with about 40 to 50% on the iPhone 8 Plus. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it is really true. Both of these phones do get you through a day, but the 8 Plus is leaving me with a lot more juice at the end of the day. Both of them do support wireless charging though, so you can place them on pads, wireless charge them, and they do have fast charging, but you have to pay for a $70 brick to charge them like that. So that's not very convenient, but it is there, and it doesn't charge as fast as some of the other Android phones. So I would just say keep these things charged. They don't charge super fast. Get yourself a wireless charger if you want convenience. Okay guys, so in terms of the audio differences, the iPhone 10 has front facing speakers, as does the iPhone 8 Plus. Again, it's a wash here on both. They both sound fantastic. They both fire from the front, and the noticeable differences are very small. You can't really see that much of a difference here when playing YouTube videos and such like that. So I think that if you're picking one of these for audio, neither one of these are going to give you the headphone jack, so you can forget about that one. That one's gone on either. You both get dongles. If you get either one of these, you're going to get dongles in the box here. So similar experience with audio on both of these. It's pretty clear that there's no winner when it comes to audio. They both sound pretty clear on either. Talking about phone call quality, I do think that you're going to have a more enjoyable experience using the iPhone 10 because it has a more comfortable hold in the hand when you are making phone calls. The iPhone 8 Plus is going to feel like a big TV against your face, as does every other large smartphone. So the iPhone 10 does finish out with a better phone call experience, in my opinion, due to the fact that it's just more compact, it feels better in the hand, and both had similar sound when it comes to their earpieces at the top. And there's no clear winner when it comes to the speakerphone because they both got loud front firing speakers. So discussing gaming a little bit, I do think that it's a more enjoyable experience right now playing a game on the 8 Plus, just because the 8 Plus gives you a wider screen right now, and every app is optimized for it, and it still runs just as good as the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 though, over time will get a little bit better with gaming, but right now not all applications are updated to fit that panel. So when it comes down performance, it's going to be about the same, but the 8 Plus might give you a better experience just because it stretches the whole panel right now, and you do have thicker bezels for gaming, which is definitely necessary when you don't want to have accidental presses. So I think overall the 8 Plus is going to be a better gaming experience just because of the thicker bezels. And in gaming, if you look at the Razer phone that just came out, there's thicker bezels on that phone for a purpose. It's because you don't want accidental presses when you're playing a game. You might do that on the iPhone 10. Wrapping it up with a conclusion, there's some miscellaneous stuff I didn't talk about. Both are going to give you 3D touch. This is a feature that's been on iPhone forever. Both give you IP67 water resistance. So those are a couple miscellaneous things right there. Both are going to give you the new Bluetooth 5.0 standard, and that's about it here. Which one is the better phone? Which one is the better deal? You're paying about $1,000 here for the iPhone 10. You're paying about $800 here for the iPhone 8 Plus. You're getting the same internal components, but you're really paying that $200 premium for the design. You really got to decide, do you want a compact form factor with an all screen, or do you want a super fast iPhone that's got the classic Touch ID home button? To me, it's going to come down to personal preference. Smartphones are really good this year, but honestly, I would just pick the iPhone 10. It has the same internal components and it gives you a better design. The only reason I would take the 8 Plus is if you're someone who doesn't want to pay the premium for this design, you don't really like the notch that much, and you probably game a lot. I think the 8 Plus will be better because of the thicker bezels on that one. Other than that, it's pretty much a draw here. Any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, please go ahead and drop those down below in the comment section of this video. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well. I will catch you all in the next one, and peace.